Ah, the high-energy atmosphere of today's corporations. The financial data. The conference calls.
The boredom. Come on, you know what every business meeting in the world sounds like.
The projected annual revenue over the next 2 fiscal years has been extrapolated using the data attained from the past 10 years, averaged out with the gross national, the gross domestic product.
Well, that may be your idea of it, but interactive magic is giving this genre a whole new look and feel with capitalism.
All I know is that if I can't shoot something, I don't want to play it. This is a business simulation. How exciting can it be?
Well, I know you won't believe it, but capitalism is one of the more entertaining games I've played in a while.
You know, you're right.
You've played it?
No, I don't believe it.
This is just something you have to play to understand. Check this out. Capitalism operates in real time, and the object is simple. Make lots and lots of money. The player starts off with a little bit of personal money to invest and a 50% stake in a corporation.
If this is a financial simulator, what's up with this map?
When you first start out, none of the competing corporations have any businesses, only money with which to start businesses. So you have to start businesses on this map.
And the terrain affects what kind of businesses operate there, right?
Yep. And the distance of the businesses from each other also affects the price of the products through shipping costs.
So let's see, there's farmland, cities, suburbs, and seaports. What do seaports do?
Seaports import products from out of the playing area. Each port can bring in 3 different products at a time, and they can change during the game, leaving you without a product you depend on.
That stinks! How can you establish a business if you're just going to get your product cut off?
Let me explain how you make money in this game. You can play the stock market, sell raw materials for production, you can actually produce things, and you can sell them at retail. The tricky part is that multiple products can be combined to make other products, and the seaports never have anything that someone can't produce themselves.
So you can sell whatever's being brought in, or you can make it yourself?
Right, and it gets very complex and involved doing it, but it's a lot of fun.
But what do you do in actual gameplay?
For a game as complex as capitalism, the gameplay is very simple. To set up a firm, you must first purchase a piece of land and build on it, which is all handled in one easy step.
What in the world are all those squares for?
Those are spaces for work units. When you set up a manufacturing factory, you can't just tell it to make something. You have to bring in the raw materials, tell the factory what to produce, and have some way of selling it. That's where work units come in.
I get it. You set up 1 unit to buy the raw product, 1 unit to actually make it, and 1 unit to sell it.
That's it exactly. You can determine this flow of production from one unit to another by connecting them with these lines. Every firm, mining, farming, sales, whatever, they all have 9 empty units to use, but you can make or sell as many different products as you have empty unit spaces for.
I really like that. It gives a real sense of strategy and realism to the game that's lost when you just tell a factory to make something. But what are all those little lines for?
These lines show things like supply, demand, product on hand, level of production, things like that. It's very easy to read, and it's an ideal structure for capitalism. When you start trying to maximize your production and factory space, arranging work units isn't as easy as it may sound, but when you find that perfect arrangement, you can save it in the layout library.
Aw, that rocks! So you can just copy that structure over to a new firm without having to go through the trouble of setting it up every time.
When you get to the point where you're setting up lots of factories and stores, it really helps to have this feature.
But you know, business is much more than just making and selling things.
Right you are, and thank you for that segue, because capitalism, the game, consists of more than just making and selling things. Each product is rated in 3 categories: price, quality, and brand.
So these are the factors that determine what's important to the consumer?
Right. If a product has a high price factor, then that means price means more to the consumer than anything else.
And if it has a high quality, then that's what's most important when buying it. Price would be easy to control since you just lower your prices. But how do you control quality and brand?
Quality can be boosted by buying better raw materials and doing research. R&D departments can be set up which come up with better ways of production, which make the quality of the final product better.
And increasing the brand factor?
Increasing the brand factor is simply a matter of advertising, which is involved in and of itself. Each city has at least 1 television or newspaper station in it that you can use to advertise a product. By hooking up a sales department to an advertising unit, you can pump in whatever amount of money you want per month to market that product.
And you just link that advertising unit to the TV station or newspaper of choice. How can you tell which one is best?
Each station or newspaper has its own ratings and prices that you can go by to determine which one you want to use. So not only are you in the business of business, you're also having to learn to advertise.
This is all getting a little bit overwhelming. There's a ton of stuff to worry about in this game.
And you thought it would be boring. But you're right. Capitalism can get to be a little overwhelming when you start getting a whole bunch of firms to worry about. But you can hire a president to look after your businesses for you.
I thought I was president of this company.
No, you're the CEO. The president is the person responsible for the day-to-day operations of things, while you worry about bigger things like the stock market and expansion.
But if the president is running everything, that takes a lot of the fun out of the game, doesn't it?
Well, it could, but you don't have to assign your president to run all of your businesses if you don't want. You can assign any businesses you own for the president to control, but you can always turn all of your businesses over to the president.
But it's the computer that's running things, so how can I be sure that he
or she
will do what I want?
There's a list of folks you can hire as president, each with their own attitudes and experience. You just hire the person with the style you like. Once they're hired, you can set their aggressiveness as to how your product's overall ratings are set. But the higher you want your product ratings, the more they'll invest in achieving it.
So I can have a president for my retail stores, a president for my factories, and a president for my farms?
Unfortunately, no. You can only hire one president at a time, but that's where a strange little quirk was noticed. A president can resign at certain times, leaving you to hire a new president. But if the person that quit still views you favorably, it's possible to turn around and rehire them at a substantially lower salary than what they just quit over.
That's not right. When someone quits, they normally don't come back to work and they never get back at a lower salary. That really needs to be fixed.
But the features of this game that make it so realistic are all of the reports and information that go along with the game. There are corporate detail summaries, product summaries, manufacturers and farmers indexes, and just about anything else you could want. They're all here.
But unless you're dealing with this in everyday life, how could you ever deal with all this stuff?
Well, you're right there. When you first start playing, the sheer amount of numbers can get overwhelming. But as you go along and get more and more into the game, you'll find that these numbers are not just there for show. You'll be wanting this information, and you'll be using it without a second thought.
Sounds like there was a lot of thought and attention put into the financial model.
These reports are the real deal, the same kind used in everyday business situations. This game could be used in business classes. When you want a simulation, capitalism is as real in financial concerns as you could get.
For all of its accuracy and realism, this is still one very good-looking game. These SVGA graphics and photos of actual business firms and people are great.
Oh yeah, nothing's been overlooked in this game. You'll be spending a lot of time staring at the screen, and since there's not a lot of action, it helps to have an attractive screen to look at.
The interface is easy to use and understand, since you can do anything you need to do with the mouse. But in case you're a keyboard kind of person, most commands have a keyboard equivalent.
One of the problems faced by other games of this type, like SimCity 2000, is that it can get kind of tedious after a while.
No kidding. Getting there is fun, but after you start making lots of money and everything starts running on its own, there's nothing left to conquer. No real direction to go in.
But interactive magic has taken care of that problem. While it is possible to play an open-ended game, Capitalism has a set of scenarios included in it that help keep it from becoming too vague.
How can you have a scenario in a financial game like this?
Oh, that's easy. You might have so many years to get a corporation's revenue up to a certain point. You may have to save a company from bankruptcy, that kind of stuff. This gives Capitalism that little sense of direction that has hampered games like this in the past. For every feature that we've covered in this review, there's got to be 3 that we weren't able to get to. But that's okay, because the more you get into this game, the more fun it becomes.
I've got to admit, I never would have thought that something like this could be good, but Capitalism really seems to have it together.
Capitalism is just plain fun. There are plans to make a multiplayer version of the game, but right now, Capitalism is just a single-player game. But if you've played and enjoyed games like Master of Orion and SimCity 2000, you must get Capitalism. No financially oriented game can even touch the quality of Capitalism, and every strategy gamer has to put this on their top 10 most wanted list.